So good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tips to the Top. I am so excited about tonight's call because it's one of my very, very dear friends that I'm so thankful to have met through Plexus, Rayne Anderson, and she is going to share her testimony with you, and then also some tips. And just a reminder, if you have questions along the way, please feel free to put those questions in the chat box, and then we'll do a little Q&A at the end. So I'm so excited. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Rayne, and I know that y'all are going to love her just as much as I do. So it is, you're on, Rayne.
Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, that's a lot of pressure right there. So I'm going to do my best to get you guys loving me. But in the meantime, I want to thank Angie for having me tonight. You know, Plexus sure is a special gig because not only do we have the fortunate blessing of helping people feel better, improve their finances, if so, but then we get these cool friendships along the way. And I honestly don't know that I would have had the opportunity to meet Angie had it not been for Plexus. And so Angie and I met this summer officially. I feel like we kind of have crossed paths throughout our Plexus journeys, but really got to connect this summer. And it was truly an insta bond. I absolutely adore your leader. She loves you guys so much. If I knew one thing from the moment of meeting Angie, it was how much she loves big, and how much she wants your success. And so how could you not love her immediately when those are some of the first words out of her mouth? So I thank you, Angie, for asking me to be a part of, trusting me with your team and allowing me to pour into you all tonight. And then I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your evening with me, because I know that you could be anywhere tonight. And the fact that you chose to spend the next 30, 45 minutes with me truly humbles me, and it's an honor to be with you all. And like Angie said, I'll reintroduce myself. It looks like Rayne, right? Because why else would you pronounce my name any other way? But it's actually Rayne, and my last name is Anderson. And I have the absolute privilege of being a diamond ambassador with this super cool company, Plexus Worldwide. And I'm going to share with you guys a little bit of how I got to this place. And to do that, I have to rewind the clock. Y'all, this is freaking me out. 5 years ago this month, I was introduced to the products of Plexus. I cannot, how many of you, just for those of you that I can see, and thank you for those that stayed on video, how many of you have kids? Just raise your hand. Okay, I see some hands. So we can just all agree, those of us that have kids, and even those of us that don't, time just goes by fast, right? And, when we have our kids, I'm sure each of you were given the advice of how quickly time goes. Well, Plexus is kind of like a baby to me. It's my second child. I only have one, and I'll get into that in a second. But Plexus is like my baby. And so for us to have been with each other for 5 years now absolutely blows my mind. I was introduced to the products 5 years ago this month, and simply because I saw mamas at my daughter's school looking better and feeling better. Now, I'm going to admit to y'all that I was a little bit snobby about this whole pink drink fad. I work out, and I had been an avid boot camper prior to Plexus for about 7 years. So I came to the health and wellness, mantra of you got to eat right, you got to exercise, and that's how you take care of yourself. Everything else is just fluff. But I didn't want to miss out on anything either. And I really did see all these moms looking better and feeling better. And quite frankly, I just wanted in on it. So I was one of those moms that Celeste referred to Jen Hawkins to buy the product because she was absolutely not going to have anything to do with the business, which I also have to kind of add my little asterisk to this and let you guys know that I literally just thought I was being a great friend to Celeste's friend, because I thought that this was Celeste's friend Jen's family's business. So I did not know Plexus was network marketing. I had visions of Jen Hawkins' grandfather mixing up pink powder in his basement, And that's how much I researched, right? Nobody was dying. Nobody was dying. Everybody was looking and feeling better. I was skeptical, but I was also super fearful of missing out on looking better and feeling better. So that's my research. I trust my friends. I jumped in with the products, and I absolutely love them. I can tell you, like, within 6 weeks, I was definitely sleeping better. I had definitely lost inches, and that was a really hard, and I will even equate that to pounds on the scale, but more importantly, inches. And I was already in pretty decent shape. So that's the testimony for Plexus right there. That is my be all end all. I hadn't even started the probiotic or the bio cleanse, and and we all know how amazing we feel in addition when we add those products. But again, I'm super naive. I don't research. I really didn't care, to be honest with you, that there was a business side to this. I was just incredibly happy as a customer because, again, I'm being a great friend by supporting a friend's business, family business. So anyways, can we just agree that life happens, right? Show of hands, life happens. Yeah. So I will fast forward the clock a little bit to February of 2013. And life happened to me in a major way. At the time, I was just 40 years old, and my world was rocked, y'all. I mean, I'm going to be super honest with you and let you know that quickly and suddenly, I was faced with raising my daughter, my only daughter, on my own. So let me paint that picture for you. 40 years old, had been a stay-at-home mama even before she was born, I had been a stay-at-home wife and hadn't worked in 10 years. I'm not college educated, and it had been at least 10 years since I had been in the workforce. So to paint the picture that I was scared, that I was confused, that like I said, my rug had been pulled out from under me is an understatement. Now I'm happily telling this story, and no fear, it ends well. But that's a very crazy position to be in, especially in your 40s. None of us ever set out in life thinking that that's how our journey is going to go. So I did what I feel like any person in that position would do, and that is put on your big girl pants, get to praying, and get to interviewing. And my background prior to being a stay-at-home mama was that of the recruiting industry. So I had worked in multiple forms of HR, helping people find jobs and even training. Isn't it amazing how God orchestrates our past to lay forth our future? So I did get to interviewing, and luckily I was offered a job pretty immediately within my interviewing process. So I would say about 2-3 weeks into interviewing, I was offered a job. Now, it's also very important to detail to y'all that job was an offer that was a 6-figure-a-year income. Recruiters are paid handsomely, but that job was located about an hour away from our home. And I just shared with you that I had been a stay-at-home mom, and my daughter's world was changing. And as much as that was an answer, that job offer was an answer to our problem, it was not an answer to our prayer, or specifically my prayer, because I wanted to still offer Sadie the stability to have her mom at home, to be able to be there for those school functions, because see, at the time she was only 7 years old. And so I felt like I still selfishly I wanted to be there for the parties and for the volunteering, and really the routine of taking Sadie to school and picking her up. The mundane had all of a sudden become a luxury to me. And so I prayed about that offer, because again, it's an answer to my problem, but it's not an answer to my prayer. And I'm here to share with you that I did not take the job. And why I didn't, I can only lean on my faith and the fact that I was certain and still am to this day, that God will take care of all the details, that just follow him. And if something doesn't feel right in your gut, then don't do it. And I will say, probably for the first time in my Christian walk, I took that very bold leap and I truly listened to him, not understanding, because my secular self didn't want to let go of that sure thing. But I knew that I was going to have to do that, because again, when you're deep and seated in prayer and you're really listening to him, and I can, with this story, I can truly connect with some of those characters that we know in the Bible, that, God was pushing, one to step out of their comfort zone. How many times do we talk about this in our industry? For the blessing. And so I did exactly that. I didn't know what plan B was. I continued to interview. I hadn't completely lost my mind, I assure you. I continued to interview. I continued to put my networking capabilities out there. And I found myself one night after Sadie went to bed on Facebook, I happened to see Celeste post that, through these amazing Plexus products, she was able to, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, and this is probably not super compliant now, but she was able to pay for both of her kids' college tuition, or not college, sorry, their private school tuition that month. That perked my interest because, like I said, my daughter went to school with her kids. I knew exactly what that private school tuition looked like on a monthly basis. And this mama was intrigued. And so I had done a really good job, I think, of most of my adult life trying to paint a picture of a perfect life, a perfect world. And I had to, real quick, swallow my pride and get real honest with a friend that I had done social circles with. Celeste and I ran in the same social scene, but I had to peel back some layers, and I had to get real honest real quick and let her know what was going on in our life. And I said, hey, do you think that this Plexus thing, which, by the way, my mind was blown because, again, I thought that was Jenny's family's business. So I needed some clarification on that, one. And then two, I needed that validation. I needed to hear that this was something that she thought that I could do. And I'm here to share with you guys. Now, today, Celeste, she's a legend, right? I mean, she's a double diamond, one of two in the entire company. Most of us fall under her in regards to her team. At least half the company is under Celeste. And so she's a legend. But I'm here to share with you guys, she was able to validate this business opportunity to me before the legend occurred. She was no more than a gold ambassador at the time, but it was because of her passion and her belief and her certainty. And that's a word I have to stress with you, is certainty, that I could do this. I jumped all in. And on April, I believe it's 23rd. Y'all, I'm really bad with dates, by the way. But April 23rd-ish of 2013, I signed on to be an ambassador with Plexus Worldwide. I made my first post, and it is such a happy story to be able to share with you guys that 1 year, almost to the day, later, I became a diamond ambassador with Plexus, and I am incredibly grateful because, the goal was to keep a roof over our head. It was to keep Sadie in that private school that she had known since she was in preschool. The goal was to keep food on the table. I had a hard time seeing outside of any other blessing that Plexus would bring us. The immediate was survival. But I'm here to share with you, it's been so much more for us. Not only have we been able to take care of our basic needs, and truly needs, but also we've been able to travel. I've shared with you, I've made amazing friendships. And because of one of those friendships, I was introduced indirectly, I would say, through Plexus, to whom is now my husband. He has adopted our daughter, and they'll celebrate their 2-year gotcha date this December. We'll celebrate our 3-year anniversary in 2018 in January. And so for me, Plexus has absolutely been, I'd love to say a fairy tale, but one that, even Cinderella had to do some work, right? She scrubbed dishes and she she had to go back and retrieve what the glass slipper and what have you. But my point is that nothing's a lottery ticket, and that you here to share with you that you can be absolutely all of that in this business. It starts with your mindset. And I know that this month you're focusing on conquering those fears, facing those fears. And I'm here to share with you that you have it within you to do that. You have the ability and the passion, and you have said, because you said yes to this opportunity, and this is where I get super passionate, because you said yes to this opportunity, you have said no to what the world has dictated to us is a suitable way to make a living. But because you're brave, and because you're bold, and because you believe not only in these products and the company, but you believe in yourself, you're going to do amazing things in this business. You're going to conquer your fears. You're going to accomplish things that you never really realized that you would be able to do, simply because you were brave enough to say yes to whomever it was that invited you. And one day you'll look back on that opportunity and that person who asked you, and you'll thank them for this if you haven't already. But what I want you to know is that God makes beauty out of ugly. I shared with you vulnerably that my situation did not look too pretty, and I won't sugarcoat it and tell you that there weren't times that I was scared. Of course I was. But I believed that God had a plan for me, and boy did he. And it's been such a crazy, fun, incredible ride with hiccups, with bumps. You'd say, well, you ranked a diamond in a year. Where's the hiccup and where's the bumps? I always share that this business will show you so much about yourself and those around you. And, we deal with personalities, and we deal with conflict, and we deal with real life things. And so don't ever look at somebody's journey and say, well, you went fast, so it was easy for you. Not necessarily. I do a training called the 4 Enemies of Success. And the one I want to focus with you on today, because I don't want you to walk away just with my story. I want you to walk away with the tip. And so what I'd like to focus on with you all is that mental enemy of rejection. Because I know, again, that your focus this month is facing your fears. And I also know that one of the biggest fears in our industry is just those 2 little letters, NO, and hearing those. And I want you to know that when we mentally wrap our mind around the fact that we will be rejected in this business, getting those no's is like a vitamin. Because I promise you, I've been doing this almost 5 years now. I've been with the products for 5, and in April it'll be 5 years, so we'll go 4.5. I have challenged my team. I challenge you to go get 100 no's in a row. Do you know that in 4.5 years, nobody's done it? Not yet. Nobody's gotten, 100 asks. Nobody's gotten all no's in a row. So know that every single no is going to lead to your eventual yes. And we've seen, I hope you've seen the YouTube, I don't know, what do we call them, video from Melissa Eichenhorst, where she said her number 63 was one of her rock stars. It took until that number 63. What if she would have given up at 62? We would be down 1 diamond ambassador, because and what would that team look like without her influence? And so I want you to know that you're going to receive no's. Use them as your vitamin. Use them as your fuel to get to your next step. I wrote down some notes on this, and I want to make sure that I cover them all for you on this rejection piece of it. Again, we talked about you being a risk taker, that you're brave, that, that this is the answer, that your yes to Plexus was a bigger yes. It was a yes to freedom. It was a yes to providing for you and your family. And I don't ever want you to lose sight on that yes and the impact of those 3 letters. is huge. So now what do you do with rejection? You know, the one thing I want to tell you is don't make people feel bad for it, because I can't tell you how many no's I received that down the road have turned into yeses. Would you believe that 4.5 years later that I had no's that were no's back then are now yeses? It just takes some people a little bit longer to come around. Doesn't mean that all of them have become yeses, but it sure does mean that I have left that door open, stayed in touch, fostered those relationships, circled back around and said, hey, is this a better time to talk about plexus? I always ask the question, if it's a no, would it be okay if I followed up with you in 30 or 60 days just to let you know how my journey's going? Because they are psychology, here we go. Because I've already told you no, more than likely they're not going to say, nah, I don't want to hear how your journey's going in 30 or 60 days. They're probably more than likely, and I'm only going from my experience, they're probably going to tell you yes, because again, they just told you no. They don't want to be a jerk. So again, activity is the cure to any problem that you may have in your business. I'm going to say that one more time because I think it's important. If you're having a problem in your business, your cure is activity. So I know that at times we get down in the dumps. We don't want to hear another no. But when you are doing those true income producing activities, you are laying out groundwork for a very successful few weeks, next month. You know, I can't tell you when those seeds are going to harvest, but what I can tell you is if you don't plant them, they're not going to harvest at all. And so, you know, again, this is tough love for you. This is one thing I share with my team a lot. You know, this business brings us huge blessings, and we talk about the freedoms in it, and we talk about, you know, you get to see your friends go shopping and lunching and what have you, but those freedoms came with work. And, you know, I see sometimes people on our teams get frustrated when they've reached out to 5 or 10 people and they feel like, okay, I'm giving up because I got these no's. But would you, like, let's put a time frame on it. To follow up with 5 or 10 people, I mean, maybe that took you 30 minutes. Do you know of a job that you'd give up on in 30 minutes because you got some no's or because you weren't hearing what you wanted to hear? And so, you know, I don't know of another job in the world that I would invest 30 minutes and then give up because it wasn't truly working out for me. Right? So I want you to think about that when you are working your business and when you're getting those no's, and remember this conversation that we've had here tonight. And then, of course, you all know the importance of your follow-up and being consistent. You know, these are the things that I tell my team on a regular basis. If you aren't using the tools that you have, and I would absolutely tell you Facebook is one of them. To me, that just tells people that your doors are open. But additionally, that you're following up on your likes, that you're following up on any comments that you're receiving, that you are not throwing up plexus the first thing that's coming out of your mouth, that you're fostering that relationship. I saw this funny video, and I'm trying to remember the gal's name. She uses Snapchat. I think her last name is Land. I can circle back around with y'all and let y'all know. But I just recently found her, and one of her videos was about, and she used a Snapchat filter, so it was really funny. But she basically said, if I haven't talked to you in 20 years and you're asking me to join your team, like I'd rather basically walk barefooted across nails than join your team. And I thought, wow, you know, it was funny and it was humorous, but I thought, how many of us do that? Reach out to somebody that we haven't talked to in a period of time, and the first thing out of our mouth is, hey, let me tell you about plexus. And hey, how self-serving is that? And how disingenuous does that come across? And so those are my tips for you. And I know we want to have time to open this up for questions, and hopefully I have some amazing answers for you. But I will wrap up my journey with a quick story for you guys that I think just highlights my gratitude towards this opportunity. So my first convention that I attended was in Dallas, which is the area in which I'm from. And it was in June of 2014, and I was so excited to go because not only was it my first convention, but I was attending as a Diamond Ambassador. I had zero idea what that looked like in regards to its overwhelming magnitude of crowd and what have you. But that year, I was one of the top earners in the company, and we all know how generous Plexus is. They gifted us with a suite for each of the top earners. And I'm here to share with you guys that that suite overlooked that company that I shared with you earlier in my journey that offered me that 6-figure-a-year job. Now, to tell you that that moment was a aha full circle moment of gratitude of what my life could have looked like, because I'm also going to share with you, it wasn't a real pretty building. I don't even know if there were a lot of windows there, but I looked down on that building and I thought, that's where life could have taken me. Because if I would have taken the safe road, if I would have said yes to what we know what we're trained to say yes to, the 9 to 5, work for someone else, clock in, clock out, that's what life would have looked like. Well, how many blessings would I have missed out on if I wouldn't have just been slightly brave, slightly bold, slightly courageous in the no to that company, but to the yes to Plexus. So I thank you all so much for allowing me to share my heart and share some of my journey with you tonight. And I would absolutely adore to answer any questions that y'all may have tonight.
Oh, I loved that so much, Rayne, and I'm sure that everyone loves you just as much as I do now. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I know that I saw someone down here. Okay, just love this. Okay, so I actually have a question for you. So
Okay.
you have been doing this for 5 years. So, I mean, that's a long time. My question is, like, on your longevity with Plexus, how do you feel like you kind of sustain, and what does it look like as far as like your daily method of operation?
Sure. I think your daily method of operation is going to look different when you're first starting out your business versus what mine looks like today. When you have a large team, part of your job is pouring into them and cheerleading them on and helping them realize their potential in this and helping them achieve their goals. But with that said, I've never, ever stopped working my own business. In fact, this year, I've added 25 people to my team. One of those months being a month where I added 15 people in 1 month. And that's 4 years later into my journey. So, to say, oh, I'm tapped out or I'm saturated, that's a word, right? Saturated, we use a lot. You're not, it's just, you may have to dig a little bit more. You may be in a different spot than, say, somebody else who's had a quicker journey. And I share this very candidly, that we all enter this condition differently. And I'll equivalate it back to exercise. Angie and I could both sign up for a marathon tomorrow. Well, I may be more conditioned to run that marathon than Angie is today. But let's say Angie starts training for it and puts the work in. On race day, she may beat my time because she's worked, she's put in more time, she's conditioned herself. And that's the same thing in our journeys. Somebody just may come into this with slightly more contacts, slightly more influence. But I'm here to share with you, this is a skill that is learned. This is not something that's just, oh, well, she's super connected in her community. Get connected. It may take you a little bit more time. You may have to join some clubs. You may have to do some things that you thought, you may have to join a quilting club. I don't know. If that's your thing, go do it. You may have to join a running club. You may have to start volunteering at your child's school more. But to, again, expand that circle of influence. But it's doable. I've seen people do this with not very many level ones on their, their strong, on their front line, because they've had people connected who know someone who knows someone. So never stop growing your own business. Never give up on that. Do not be a coattail rider. Don't do it. You'll feel bad about yourself. Continue to work your business. Continue to talk about, the awesomeness of this products. So I think Jessica has a question. Did I answer that okay? Was that what you were looking for?
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
Work your business.
As you go along, I mean, you never stop working your business. Just because you get to diamond or just because you get to emerald or, whatever, it's not like they're like, oh, she's emerald now, she doesn't have to post or whatever. Like, you still have to continue to work your business. And I feel like I probably almost work harder now than I did.
Well,
there's so much more on the line too. And you want everyone else with.
It's so true, because I'm also here to share with you, the people that get you to point A are not necessarily going to be the people that get you to point B, or the people that keep you there. So let's call it point D, because we all want to, most of us, I'm assuming, y'all want to get to diamond. Once you get to point D, the people that get you there are not necessarily the people that keep you there. And I can absolutely speak to, to that direct, on my own team. The people that got me to diamond are not necessarily the same people that are keeping me there. So you're constantly working your own front line, and you're also pouring into your team. And that's a balance. And, I'm here to share with you that's not an easy balance. It's one that I think even the most seasoned Jewel will tell you, you always struggle with that, how much time you're spending in one area versus another. Some days, I'll be, completely honest with you in the fact that there are some days that I don't get to work my personal business, but there's never a week that I'm not working my personal business. It may be that one week it's, 10 hours that I was able to dedicate to growing my front line. And then other weeks it might be 2 hours, but I always am working my business. Never let it just, kind of like exercise, right? You got to condition that muscle.
Yes.
Okay, so let me take a second to read this. So it took you 1 year to reach diamond. I don't remember you saying, that's right. But what you got you going in 4 years in, and what did that year look like? So Jessica, I might need some clarification. Are you saying what did my first year look like, or what did?
Sorry. Hey, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
You said that you'd been doing it for 5 years, or started the products 5 years in, and then it took you 1 year to get to diamond. So I guess you've probably how far in did you go diamond? Like
1 year, exactly. It was like literally almost 1 year to the day.
Oh, so when you started the products, then you went diamond 1 year later?
No, I joined in April of 2013. So I started the products in October of 2012. I was a happy customer until I'd say about February, and I stopped the products because life changed, and like any luxury money was not being spent, and literally supplements at that point were luxury money for me. So I was off the products for about 2 months. But then in late April of 13, I joined Plexus and not only started back on the products, but jumped full in with the business. And in April of 2014, I ranked to Diamond Ambassador.
Okay. Sorry.
So it was a fast year. There was a ton of follow-up. It was, it was a 4-letter word. It was WORK, 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 work. I mean, it was nooks and crannies, and, that was all I did was Plexus, so once I got Sadie to bed, I still mommed, but the beauty of April of 2013 is she's in school until about late May. So I had a full month of just, while she was in school, I was able to focus on Plexus. And I mean, if I tell y'all it was an 8-hour-a-day gig in the beginning, it was an 8-hour-a-day gig, because you have to also understand my motivation. It wasn't, well, if this thing works, awesome. I didn't have this was my full-time job. So when I say I went all in because it was a matter of survival for me. And I tell people, I'm like, pretend like it's a matter of survival for you too, because I guarantee you, you'll have, your results will look a lot different if you work this as if you have to have it versus, oh, it'd be nice if.
Yeah, and I love that you talk about, I think that, and even, I'm guilty of this sometimes, or, I know definitely I have, but I love that you share that, it's like we message a few people, and maybe 3 out of the 10 people that we message in 30 minutes tell us no, and then we're like, I don't want to do this anymore today. And so we just call it a day when, what job can you go to and work 30 minutes and then decide to move on? Or there are so many things in this business, I feel like, that we let our fears hold us back, and we just give up so quickly because we don't have a boss telling us, hey, do this. We're accountable for our own actions. But if we just take that time and invest and step outside our comfort zones and be willing to really treat this like a job, y'all, the financial freedom, the freedom that you can have helping other people get their health back, get their life back. It's just unbelievable. If you would just invest and really stop making this a hobby and doing 30 minutes but really investing in spending that time, the freedom that you can get out of that is more than any. I worked 60, 80 hours a week and am really close to what I've made in a whole year making in a month with Plexus. And that can be you too, if you are willing to do the work and willing to face that rejection.
Well, and and I love that, Angie, and I think it's also important for your team to hear that, it's not just we're saying go to work. We want to give you examples of what that looks like, and one of the things that I definitely did in the beginning, and to this day, if someone liked my post, so Facebook was a tool for me. Often I think we as leaders have shared with you all, oh, well, we post on Facebook. And then somehow it got diluted down to, and we're like the Pied Pipers of Facebook, and all these people just came out of the, computer circuit, whatever, and, the keyboard, and they just wanted to join my team. It did not look anything like that. I absolutely would post on Facebook regularly. And it is not, odd for me, even still to this day, to post upward of 10 times a day, because again, the rhythms and how people see what and who sees what when they see it, I never knew. I didn't really care. I get this fear statement a lot, but I don't want my friends to block me, or I don't want them to think I've gone crazy. Here was my philosophy, and this is really a mindset issue. And again, my situation was different, but nobody was paying my bills. I didn't care if someone thought I'd gone crazy, because at the end of the day, if this was the opportunity of putting food on my table for my child versus not, guess what? I might post 20 times a day to make it happen. If you liked my post, you gave me permission to follow up with you and see how you were doing and what was going on in your world. If you commented on my post, you definitely gave me permission. I took every single contact that I had in Facebook and email, and I am showing my age, Rolodex, my spiral notebook, whatever. I followed up with you and I let you know I'm so excited about these products, and let me tell you why. Kept it short, kept it sweet, and even to this day, I tell you, to follow up with someone and say, hey, have you heard of Plexus? Have you heard of, these amazing products? And just leave it at that. Y'all, that simple sentence right there, have you heard of Plexus? That gets so much. Yes, I have. No, I haven't. If you get the yes, I have. Oh, great. What have you heard about it? Keep that conversation going, and even don't let your no's deter you. Okay, you get a no. Who cares? Move on. Next, may I follow up with you in 30 days and let you know how my journey's going? So I hope these are some tools that help you. And do I have any tips for people that still work full time and still work Plexus? Absolutely. Work it in the nooks and crannies. I have several examples on my team of people that have had measurable success, including I have a full-time teacher that went Emerald that retired, but she went Emerald while she was a full-time teacher. Now, teachers are restricted. They can't post during the day. So what did she do? She gave up TV. She gave up anything extracurricular she had, she gave it up and she invested it in her Plexus time. Again, teaching duplication, right? She followed up with anyone that liked her post, anyone that commented, and she reached out. Again, use the tools that you have. Don't just say, well, I posted on Facebook. There you go. Nobody cares. Nobody's listening. They're probably watching you. There's power. There's such power in the invitation to join me, do this. I see value in you. I believe in you. I think you would be amazing at this. Would you like to know more about what I do? Let's see, Miss Lacey has a question. The rule of thumb for contacts, 531. How many people would you say you are messaging a day? Okay, so I get that question a lot. And I always let people know, all you entrepreneurs, business people, that I think 531 is a great rule of thumb to get started. But if you're truly serious about this business, you're going to stop counting how many people you reach out to a day as far as a chat. Okay, I reached out to 5. I may have reached out to 50 people in a day. I may have reached out to 72 people in a day. I don't know. I just kept running down that list. It was almost like, and the beauty of working your business through Facebook is you can send messages at midnight, go to bed, and wake up in the morning to some positive feedback. So, you could shut that computer down, get a good night's rest, and then have a list of activity to do the next day because you were now following up on the messages that you had sent out. So stop counting, get your list, get your list of 100, because most people have they know an average of 400 people. So you have a list of 100, I promise you. And don't prejudge that list. How many times have y'all heard that? That is not new information. Don't prejudge that list. Write the name down, because I will tell y'all a story. I wrote down mailman. Like, I did not know my mailman's name, but literally I wrote down mailman, and I made sure that my mailman was super on time. So I just made sure to position myself on outside about the time the mail was being delivered. And I got to know Jason, got to find out that Jason was pre-diabetic. Jason started to see all these Plexus packages being delivered to my house, asked about Plexus. He became one of my customers, lost 50 pounds, and is no longer pre-diabetic. So we've got that there. So, write down the people in your world, even if it's your mailman. So when I was posting 10 times a day, was I very, I'm thinking, like, were my posts like in a variety, I guess so, and if so, in what way? So I will tell you that I think, number one, you've got to promote your lifestyle, whatever that is. I was absolutely making fun posts, even if that sacrificed me looking a little bit goofy, me with my bottle of water, like, making that face, like, did you drink your water today? And promoting all things healthy. Also results. I think that's an incredibly important post. Stories connect people. You can show a graphic of, I wish my products are kept in another room, but let's pretend this is probiotic. This is not real interesting if I post a graphic of this water bottle, but if I post a graphic of this water bottle and me making a goofy face, all of a sudden that becomes like I'm capturing somebody's attention. Now in that I can list a fact. So again, facts, lifestyle, informational, as well as I was forgetting one, results. So those are the posts that I think that you should focus on, but I will also tell you not to reinvent the wheel. Angie makes some incredible posts. Copy her posts, but put your picture on them. Change up the wording slightly if you need to. If it doesn't sound like it would come from you, guess what? Your audience is not going to buy it. I have some amazing teammates in North Dakota, but they were copying my posts, and I say y'all a lot. I say whoop whoop. I do all these funny little comments in my posts. They were copying them word for word, and people were like, who have you become? Like, this is not you. And so we did a little bit of training on, duplicate, don't necessarily replicate, right? So be you in this. Change up the wording, change up the graphic. But if you find something that connects to you in your soul, copy it, make it your own. I can't tell you how many times. In fact, the other night I messaged Jessica Heffley and I said, hey girl, I just want you to know I borrowed your wording. And she goes, oh, girl, I duplicated that from, she goes, I stole it from somebody else too. So, I mean, who knows where the original owner is of all this, but if it connects to you, I'm pretty sure it's going to connect to somebody in your audience as well.
And I
I'm
think,
making me thirsty.
no, that's so good. And I love what you said, duplicate, don't replicate. And you want to make sure that it sounds like you. And I will put in there too that, like a lot of times if I see a really good post, like I may see someone that has a great post, but if they have a lot of the same friends as me, I may take the wording of that post, I save it in my notes, or I will throw it in my buffer for like 2 or 3 weeks out. Like, don't necessarily, if you see a really good post, you don't want, because it's a huge turnoff if you're looking at a post and you're seeing like Angie posted this, Rayne posted this, Heather posted this, Sarah posted this. So your friend is seeing the same post over and over, so you want to make sure that you are not necessarily. So if I do, I'll get that post and I'll like put it a couple weeks out so it's not at the same time, so that our mutual friends aren't all seeing the same thing and it looks more genuine.
She's so smart. I love that.
Just trying to be a little more like you. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out tonight to pour into us, to invest in this team. We are definitely so incredibly, incredibly grateful for you. I'm so incredibly grateful for your friendship and that God has connected us through this journey. So I love you, and I cannot wait to see you in 2 weeks. So thank you all so much. I hope that you all have a great evening.
Thank y'all so much. It was a complete joy to be with y'all. Bye, y'all.